Welcome to the Literacy Leadership Coaches Podcast, your one-stop shop for everything literacy and education. I'm Kim Bradley with Max Results, one of the co-hosts, and I'm joined by...
My name is Erica Glenn, and I'm a partner at Max Results as well.
And today we have an exciting topic. We are going to talk about school planning for literacy improvement in urban schools. And this is the time of year that a lot of schools across the country are starting to look at school planning for next year. You've had your state testing that's kind of going on right now. You're in the midst of those state testing at most schools. But you've had the beginning and the middle of the year formative assessments. Most of schools have done their walkthroughs. You kind of know what the data is looking like, what it probably will look like toward the end, and it's about that time to start making some plans for next year. And so when Erica's still a principal, and so she does this now, but when I was a principal and we would do school planning, in the spring of the year for the next year, one of the things that you often heard when you did the 5 whys was, well, there are some things that are keeping us from, like, our scores are this way because of, the kids don't want to learn, the parents don't come and support us, or some other things.
Those are the main ones. I would hear the ones about the parents not participating as much as the teachers would like.
Crowded classrooms. There's so many kids in these classrooms. How do you expect me to teach them all?
Okay. Well, some barriers that could be on the 5 whys, not necessarily the ones that you can't control, would be that the kids are stressed. Like sometimes in the urban setting, it's like so there's some data around that people have post-traumatic stress. Like it's their stress levels are akin to that, and then there's those ACEs. That those life traumas that can have an impact on learning. So sometimes you can't control those things.
Well, a lot of that you can't control, even the things like with the parents now. And what you'll find though is it's not that parents don't care to be involved. Many parents of students at urban schools, they work. They work during the day when their children are at school, and they may not be able to participate in the same way that other parents might be able to, but that doesn't mean that they are not invested in their child's education. A lot of our conversations, though, when we would start that planning piece was around looking at the things that we could control, because those are the only things that will get us to the point of improvement. If all we do is spend on those things that we can't control, it kind of keeps you from moving forward.
Right, because you can't impact that. So it is sometimes hard to do that because it seems so glaring to the person that is making that assertion. But true, let's either find resources to help us with those issues. Like we've had some community partners that could help us address those needs that are not really in the school's wheelhouse. So you can reach out to the community to not just leave it on the side, but when we're doing the school planning for the things that we can do, then we need to focus on those things that we can impact.
But I think, like you were talking about the trauma and the things that sometimes students come to school with that, again, like you said, may not be exactly in our wheelhouse, but if they aren't addressed, they can impact whether or not that student is able to learn and learn well. So it is to our benefit and the student and the family's benefit for us to find those resources. Exactly. And a lot of schools have that they're able to create those bridges to the outside.
True.
So as we talk about school planning, what we're really excited to bring to you is that we have created a literacy audit. And that literacy audit, though in the realm of school planning, we see and understand that if you improve literacy on your campus, you will improve every other content area. Because literacy is more than just being able to read. It is being able to read, being able to write, being able to think critically, make good choices. So being literate will make an impact on everything else.
Right.
And so our thought is, let's create, which we have done, a literacy audit that the schools can use to be kind of like a lens from which you take a look at your plan. Are these pieces in place, and to what degree are they in place, so that you can really hone in and have some clarity and focus around exactly what lever, where I should pull or push in order to make the improvement that you want. So it's not a guessing game.
Right. Sometimes it can be, especially if you're new. Sometimes I'm not saying everyone, but sometimes when you're new, it's so much going on. There's so many things happening, even just getting through the day sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
You have just things pop up, and it prevents you from having that clarity because I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and you don't have that plan. So I think that this is helpful because it'll give you a moment to say, okay, let me make this plan, and then once I have it, even though all that's going on, I still know where my path is.
Yeah, I think that what you're talking about is like sometimes fires.
Yes.
Because they seem like fires, you feel like you have to put it out right now. And so along with not letting those fires derail your focus, one way to do that is have a leadership team too. And if you don't have like an official like assistant or something like that, assistant principal, you can create a leadership team that is made up of maybe some office staff folks, some support staff. So teachers, absolutely. And so you want to have those folks who can kind of help with some of the fires so that your focus is instruction for the majority of the day.
Yeah.
And your plan stays at the forefront. So our audit has components. And so we're going to talk about those components today. They have the following components. Integrating evidence-based literacy frameworks. We're going to talk about the role of the leader in literacy success. We're going to talk about walkthroughs and how those walkthroughs can really allow you to see where your strengths and needs are. We're going to also discuss the dreaded non-negotiables, the fact that sometimes there have to be some negotiations, right, or the lack thereof. And then we're going to talk about creating a culture of continuous improvement and ways to engage your community and your parents. So in our first segment, integrating evidence-based literacy frameworks, we talk about some evidence-based research, right, done by two folks. You want to tell us a little bit about both?
Okay, so the research that we kind of did it, we're basing this on the practices that we've had in our experience because we've been in the classroom and as a teacher and as a principal. But we found that these strategies or these ideas support that. Well, we saw success, and these are people who are well known, who are echoing or validating what we're saying. So the first gentleman, he's out of Chicago. His name is Timothy Shanahan. And what he made is called the Reading Improvement Wheels. And I'm going to, hopefully you can see them, the infographic on the video, but there are two wheels, or two circles, one inside of the other. And the outer ring is things that are definitely impact student learning or literacy in particular, because this is talking about reading. But they're supports. And then the inner circle, what he calls the golden circle, are the things that you must have. So on that outer circle, there's parents, materials, professional development, special ed, leadership is out there, student motivation and programs, and I think I said materials already. So that's on the outside, and then on the inner wheel, or the inner circle, you have curriculum, quality, instruction, and time that you are spending on instruction. And what he's proposing is that inner circle, if you don't have that, that's where you're going to get the most bang for your buck. Because if I have quality instruction going on and I am teaching the children, I keep having more and more time. I think Kip School guy, he says, good teaching and more of it. That's one of his sayings. So I have a lot of this quality instruction going on. I have a solid curriculum. Then this is the foundation of what will get me the most thrust for literacy. And again, we're saying that literacy supports everything. So if you're doing these, this is your focus, again, getting clear, then you will have that success that you're looking for.
And if you think about the previous conversation about the 5 whys, and when you kind of look at your data and say, well, why is this happening and what is causing these things, that matches what Shanahan says about what's central. So those things that are central in the middle that are most important are things that we can control.
Right.
So like the parents or the motivation, those things are on the outside. They do play a part, but they're not those central pieces to literacy improvement.
Right. So I'm in agreement with what he's saying, and I thought that wheel was brilliant. Like I was trying to think of how you can have something. I'm a visual learner, so you can have something to see. So I'm really into that wheel. Okay. The other piece of research that we were looking at was Zaretta Hammond's work. And she's talking about being culturally responsive. And sometimes that makes people uncomfortable when you start talking about culture. And I think the reason, or one of the reasons that it might be unsettling to people is because it gets at people's beliefs. So sometimes that's a deep, feeling. I don't feel comfortable. Some people just don't want to talk about those things. But it is needed in the classroom. So I'm going to attempt to put my 2 cents in on it.
I won't leave you out there.
Okay. So sometimes, I guess in my experience, and maybe other people's experience too, you see the world the way you
through your lens.
Yes. How you were raised and your values and your principles. You kind of assume, or you take people, you see them through those lenses, like you said, and that is not always the case. So in your classroom, I use the example of how you interact with your teachers. So at the foundation of this is relationship. So the way that I can work with you and we can collaborate with each other, and I can give feedback and you can receive it, and you can give feedback and I can receive it, is if we have that relationship with each other and we really get to know each other, not so much on the surface always and leave it there, but really get to your core beliefs and your core values. And that is mirrored in the classroom. The same thing with your students. If you want them to receive from you and you can receive from them, you have to have that relationship there.
So the Zaretta talks about this as being an avenue for, I'm not saying that this is the way she says it, but more learning, like increased learning, because it will allow you to know how the student learns, like you were talking about being a visual learner, right? Or what best environments to allow me to learn. And then also the other piece that we were talking about before is the focus that she has around allowing a student to go beyond just receiving information and spitting it back out. So I'm not going to teach the student in a way that only has them repeat what I give them. That I'm going to have the respect enough of their abilities and differences to actually allow them to do some thinking.
Right. She's talking about moving students from being dependent learners to independent learners, and she talks about the things that you can do intentionally to move the students in that direction. But I do think that it is true what you're saying about your belief on what they're capable of. So I'm in a preschool setting, and sometimes that manifests itself in controlling what the students are asked to do. So I'm going to use a simple example. Part of our curriculum a while ago was for them to design a superhero. And it's something that kids, they like superheroes. That's something that's in their interest. And you could see when I would go through, some of the teachers really let the kids expand and really be creative and think about what special powers a superhero would have. And then others, for some reason, they would all look the same. Like all of the figures that they made, they were all the same, and I would take issue with that. Like, just because they're 3 doesn't mean that they can't verbalize or have those thoughts. And we should, even at that age, especially at that age, allow them to become independent.
And I think it's even more so for the students that we're talking about, the students that we served, because there are instances where they don't get the opportunity to just be a kid, to just be able to be creative. And of course, we know that may also mean making mistakes. Yes. That's what happens when you're a kid. Us adults make mistakes. But in order to create the environment that grows literacy, that grows critical thinking, children have to be allowed the space to think for themselves. And there are a lot of reasons why an adult, a teacher, a parent may feel like they have to kind of control some of that, like you said. And some of it is not, because I'm an ogre and I don't think that kids
not malicious.
Yeah. It may not be that. But the implication of that can sometimes be seen in those settings, and they are detrimental to the ability to learn.
Okay. Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. I know another piece that is included in her book is growth mindset. So she's talking about how to affirm the students and how to get them to see the value of education and academics, of learning, the joy of it. Like when I accomplish something, to recognize that, to even kind of keep track. Well, I was here, and now look, I've grown here, and I'm going to move to this place. So all of those things come together, and that's all woven inside of this rubric that we're, the pieces that we've put in there are connected to these ideas.
Yeah, and it's kind of like foundational. Like, we could talk about all the curriculum stuff, the leadership stuff, the walkthrough stuff, but if the building itself is not created in a way where students have the space to be able to grow and think and all of that, you can do that all day, and it's not gonna make the improvements that you want.
To that degree.
Not to that degree, right?
Yeah.
All right, so our next segment on our audit, and something else we want to talk about, is the role of the leader in literacy success. So we know that the leader's role is in shaping that culture of literacy, right? Kind of what we were talking about. That establishing and communicating, by doing that, you establish and communicate those non-negotiables. We talked about those dreaded non-negotiables, right?
That's a bad word. You just hear that and you just get this feeling.
Boy, they don't let us think either. You're talking about letting the kids think and the teachers can't think. Right. But some of the non-negotiables that we had anyway, and I know that you have, are things like
collaborating. So we're going to put our collective brains together and work together instead of having a person in isolation.
Yes.
So that whatever we have, it's not, especially those successful things that we're doing.
Right.
Everybody knows about it. We can share, and then it's coming from us. So, of course, it's gonna be based on evidence, but it's something that we've agreed. We're looking at these students together, and we agree that this is something that we need to focus on.
And that culture that they're all our kids. So it's not like, well, these are mine and this is what I'm doing over here with them. Well, they're all our kids, and we expect for growth for everybody.
Right.
The other thing that you might consider a non-negotiable might be differentiated instruction. Correct. That the instruction is not one size fits all the time, and that student choice is involved.
Yes. Yeah. Another thing is we would make kind of a curriculum map, an instructional cycle, so that we can keep track of the skills that or the strategies that we're using with the students, so that we are paced. However, saying that, I want to mention that the 4 idea of tight and loose, so that these things are non-negotiable, but one of the things that we would say is we're going to do what's best for the students. Like, that's our bottom line. So
now that's a non-negotiable, though.
It is.
That's
the
main non-negotiable, doing what's best for the student.
But when we're making those curriculum maps and we have the instructional cycle, we're saying that you have the flexibility or the room or the space that you need to do what it is that you need.
And do it the way you would do it. Yeah. Your teacher magic, like you talk about.
Yes.
When we talk about the student at the core of every decision that's made, it has to be that if there is dissension or if there is some discussion, I'll say, something comes up and we may not agree, if what is best for students is the key, it's hard to get around whatever it is, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's not about, I think you were talking about this, like teacher comforts or adult comfort, because maybe it's not a teacher, but it's about what is best really for students. And that might mean that the principal, the teacher, the adult or whatever may be a little uncomfortable for whatever it is, but the purpose of school should be for the students. So it should be student-centered.
And that doesn't mean the students are running amok.
No, absolutely.
That's not what we're saying. Just let it be clear.
No. Just that the decisions that you make are based on data, like you said, but also are focused on what's best for students. Mm-hmm. So just to underscore this idea of non-negotiables and having high reliability at your school, that's another idea that kind of underpins our audit.
Right. So I know that sometimes, just being honest, you might have some unevenness in the outcomes in the classrooms. Okay. So the reason behind the high reliability, there's a whole book about that, and you can just spend your whole time talking about we could do a podcast on that, right? So, because there's certain levels that you go through to make your school highly reliable. But the reason is so that it doesn't matter what class the students go to. I can take the student when they get enrolled, they can go to any class and everybody is getting the same outcomes. Right. Now, there's variability among people, but we're all working towards the same goal, so that when the students are leaving your school, that environment.
And that's the sweet spot. Like it really is that the kid doesn't get the luck of the draw. Great. Maybe this year I was getting Miss So-and-so. Yes. She really teaches well, yes. That you are confident, you the parent can be confident that my student is going to come out with the right outcomes and having been exposed to the right learning.
Right, and that takes work. Like, this is not something, we're saying these ideas.
It's easy. No. Just high reliability in your school. You'll be good.
It takes work.
It does.
Takes work. And maybe some vulnerability as far as when you're interacting with people, like being really honest with them and not being, sometimes principals fall into that trap of wanting to be liked. So I don't really
rustle feathers. I don't want people to be upset with me. I don't really want to say what the truth is.
And I don't have to just, bulldoze anyone, but you have to you take that courage to say.
And the bottom line, you utilize what's the bottom line?
This is what we need to do, and it's a process.
Absolutely. So we thought about some examples because sometimes people don't realize schools are similar to regular companies in a lot of ways, right? They're organizations. Mm-hmm. And if you think about organizations like McDonald's, Starbucks, Amazon, when you are the consumer, you're going to expect a certain thing from those companies. And you can rely on, if you order a cheeseburger at McDonald's, it's going to come with those 3 pickles that mustard and ketchup in the same way every time, wrapped in that yellow paper, and it's going to be like that. You can rely on that unless you're customizing it in some way. Same thing with Starbucks. Same thing with Amazon. It's going to come in that brown box with the tape down the middle. So what we're saying with the high reliability school is that you want to create that same type of outcome for the students who are a part of your institution, of your school. All right, and then the next piece of our audit looks at walkthroughs.
Well, I guess I wanted.
Oh, go ahead.
I think we said this, but I just wanted to go back before I go to the next segment. Is about sometimes we were saying the reason why non-negotiable seems like a bad word. Sometimes, like you get that feeling. Is because the teacher or even the administrator sometimes, their boss is like, these are non-negotiables. Mm-hmm. It can appear to be stifling. Like I now you just clip my wings. I don't have the freedom to do what it is that I need to do, and that is not what is being proposed. That everyone, you have to have order, you have to have structure, but yes, you can have that teacher magic, or you can have that
teacher creativity.
Yeah, that's what you
want. That
the innovation in the classroom, the excitement, the joy, even. But it has to be inside of those non-negotiables.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So our next segment of the audit is about the school leaders. The walkthroughs that they do, the monitoring pieces, but it's also support. And so one of the things that I did as a school leader was when we had walkthroughs, the focus of those were around the literacy strategies or instructional practices that we had discussed, and everybody knew what it was that we were going to be walking through to look at. And then the focus of it was not evaluative at that time necessarily. It was about support, like what supports are needed. Maybe it's not even that the teachers aren't doing X, Y, and Z the way it needs to be done. It could be the way that it was communicated to them. Those walkthroughs can let you know as the leader and the professional developer that, I didn't explain that well, or maybe this is not clear to everybody. You might have one of the teachers come in and do a little in-service on whatever it is, or you may find good things happening and you want that, back to that high reliability, want that to happen in other rooms, and so you want to replicate that, and so you may have other teachers conference with their colleagues, kind of work with their colleagues about some of the strategies they're using, but those walkthroughs are a key element to ensuring that the literacy is improving on your campus.
Yeah, that's the to set a purpose, and then I guess in the principal seat you have the unique opportunity to see that. So like when you finish your walkthroughs, you'll have in your mind, like you can see, all week, like it's kind of what you're saying, but if we need more PD on this, or we've got this, here's the next step, we can extend this. You can have those conversations, and it's based on your data. So that PD is not going to be
fluff. And not really related to what your goals are in the school. Absolutely. The other thing that I would do, everybody knew what we were looking for, looking at, or striving to do, and I would send out emails after the walkthrough and create a percentage of, I saw, I don't know, whatever it is, differentiation in 85% of the classrooms. Anytime there was something positive to report to the whole group, then everybody got, some positive, let's keep going, let's try to blah, blah, blah. And then if there were areas, of course, where folks needed support, then you did that on the side and you gave them the support that they needed. And that might be something to consider too.
One-on-one.
The other thing, or is that it for walkthroughs and monitoring and support, you think? Got anything else?
I think so. We said how you can implement them, and just the audit itself has those categories that are in the audit. It kind of gives you that clarity and focus on what you should be looking at based on this research. So sometimes, you can, once you complete that audit, you can say, well, I might have it in my mind to do, but did I actually?
And to what degree?
Yeah, did I actually do that? So to me, that's what makes it nice to do the audit before you do your school plan, because then you're not just you're kind of intentional about what you're focusing on in that plan and putting into it to monitor during the year, and you're gonna keep doing it. Right. So as the year goes on, you pull it back out and look at it again, and it keeps your school plan from being on the shelf over there and nobody really looks at that.
The plan should kind of drive what's happening in your building. Teacher surveys can also help you. Yep. They can help with where, even though you may have a focus for the week or for the 2 week month, whatever it is, if you ask the teachers, they may tell you, if you ask them in the right way, yes, I need support here, but here's where I really need, So surveying them about their thoughts around what you even can walk through and look at, or some areas that you can provide support with might be a good way to go to.
Yeah, you can find that inside of your PLC too. Like those discussions, you actually hear what it is that is common. I know it's weird, but we were talking in our PLCs and found out that all the kids were struggling with the rectangle. Like it was a math thing. It wasn't that they were just doing shapes. It was part of their math, and they were all like, no, they're struggling with that. So we started building things inside of the things that we're doing to push to push it up there.
Yeah. So our next thing that you'll find, next area that you'll find in the audit is creating a culture of continuous improvement. And again, it's kind of like that earlier piece. You could talk about creating a culture of continuous improvement for its own podcast title too. It can be kind of heavy too.
Yeah. I guess what I would add to this, we're talking about the complexity of literacy, and that you can't just do everything at one time, or you're not really doing anything. So there's that component, but also I wanted to say that sometimes you could be in a school that's, I got 90%, I'm doing good. You can always
increase.
Yes. Yeah. Nobody's at 100. So
yes.
I wanted to say that part before we started talking about continuous improvement.
So with continuous improvement, it's important to be reflective, and reflectiveness in honesty around where everybody is in that moment in time, and even looking at the why that might be, kind of, hey, this is the reason for where we are, and not staying there. So that's that continuous improvement cycle. So we identify what's happening, we understand why it's happening, we create a plan for moving beyond that, and then we continuously monitor and make adjustments.
That's I think what's key is that being honest. Sometimes when people bring their data, or they're bringing their hard work, that I've been working on this and I thought the kids didn't go good, or even if it's good, but really that sometimes it's like shame, or like I get defensive, especially like you're over there, you being a rock star and I'm struggling with this. So underneath this idea is that we're all a team and that we're working together. So I might struggle with something later, or I can accept
kind of a growth mindset again.
Yeah. So that you can move forward, because when you get defensive like that, or I don't wanna be seen, then you stay stuck.
I was at a school doing some principal coaching, and the principal communicated to me that they were having trouble getting their PLCs off the ground because some of the teachers, now he was new to the campus, and what had been the culture before was that they did not share data, right? And so we really had to talk about the importance of creating the climate where it's okay to not have perfection. Like, everybody knew the data anyway. It wasn't that great. And let's acknowledge what's happening, but come up with a plan to move forward. So having that resiliency too, not feeling like, well, this is how it's been, this is how it always will be. That school leader kind of has to be the champion for the building until they can kind of do it themselves, to say in that setting or settings like that, where that resiliency, that growth mindset is key. And part of that is the school leader understanding where those teachers are, kind of understanding where they're coming from, and then supporting them and moving past it. Yeah. Because again, the bottom line is what's best for students. And what's best for students is that we look at this data, be honest about it, make some plans together to move forward, and execute those plans, and then continuously monitor.
And that goes back to their relationship, though. Like, yes. I have to trust that
you won't set me out there, and I won't be embarrassed.
You won't write me up later. Like, you can't. Too. You have to be transparent with your staff. And I mean, we are a team, and sometimes it gets funny because I'm on the team too. So, but then I have this other role where I have to, go and critique you, So it has to be expressed that, I'm not going to do that. Like, when we're doing these walkthroughs and I'm going to give you some time. I'll give you the support. Either we can go to another class, like you said, visit another teacher. I can bring the coach in, or
if someone's struggling.
I like instructional rounds, like have the person go and visit another classroom where things are going well, or that person has mastered that, because it's another teacher and they can give some inside tips that sometimes the principal is removed from being in the classroom for a while. So it might be a little bit different. Not always, but sometimes it could, that person that's in the moment that's doing it, it might be even received better. So just to be aware that as the evaluator / now I'm trying to work as a team, it can kind of sometimes get funny. So just to verbalize that, okay, I'm not here to just mark it up.
And then what we always know is that your words, yes, you can say it, but you have to act in that word. Yep. Oh, no, I'm not here to get you. And then you get everybody. That's the problem. Yeah. Be about what you say. And again, if your bottom line is what's best for students, you will communicate clearly to your staff what is expected, because I want everybody to be successful. Right. Because when you are successful, our students are successful. Yeah. Not trying to get anybody. It's never a gotcha unless it has to be. Well, and it's not a gotcha, but I may have to do what I need to do, right? But change can be hard, right? And so like in that setting with that one principal, that was the change process is what they were dealing with. Just kind of making certain that folks understood. But again, that person couldn't just say what they felt. It had to be something that they saw. And it was going to happen over time. Those relationships, I'm on the team. You can say it, but you have to show it.
Yeah, you got to put the time in and be consistent.
So our another segment that's on our audit, and this is our final segment, is engaging the community and the parents. And I know you do a lot of this work in your school, engaging the parents. You want to talk about ways?
Okay, well, I have... We adopted a model. It's called Parent Camp, and it's a plug, I guess, for Parent Camp. But it's a relationship based model. So generally, the way that we engage parents is we'll have a meeting. We'll say, okay, I want you to be here at such and such a time, and then the person who's leading the meeting will interaction is transactional. You know, I need you to do this. I'm gonna tell you this. We're gonna turn this in. I need this by such and such a time. It's
kind of disrespectful almost.
And I'm gonna need that.
You kind of talk at the parent. Correct. Sometimes. Yeah.
So what we found with that model is we have circles, and the parents bring the topics that they want to talk about, and they're all the topics are based on how to help the children. So it's timely because those topics that are introduced are what's current, what's going on, and it's I say it's a treasure because you will hear things that you wouldn't normally hear in that transactional type of meeting. So that is one way that, again, to build that relationship is the same thing that we said. The principal wants to work with the teacher and be able to receive from each other. It has to be based on a real relationship that's not surface. The teacher wants to work with the students receive from the teacher each other. You have to build that relationship, and it's the same with the parents. So it inherently, how we do meetings, it's not relationship building. So I'm just throwing that onto this conversation. But yes, we want to have the parents understand that school plan that we're talking about and those pieces that we're wanting to support the students. Like, again, we talk about that circle, that outer circle. This is the support group. So the teacher is in there doing the instruction and giving good teaching and more of it, but the parents are there to support that. So all inside of this plan, inside of your school plan, you always need to have that piece. If you leave that piece out, you kind of shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah. So, and communicating to, but with. So it's not just I tell you, but parents can also, like you were talking about, offer some things to you. And so having that avenue for parents is really helpful. Because that village effect is what will create a better environment for your students to learn. And again, we're talking about, because our experience has been in an urban setting where there are a lot of things that can occur outside of the building that affect what happens in the building. But if you can get the parents and the community to come together and be there for the students and for the school, you're doing a good thing.
Because it's going to take a village. It takes a village.
It really does.
It does.
These are some of the things that we did at our school, and we saw increases of over 20% in proficiency. But these are the elements that had to be in place in order to have that happen. And that's not to say that we didn't have, situations occur, parents who were angry or students who, had trouble, but we had a plan. We made certain to stick to that plan. Student-centered was key, and communicating with everybody what the vision and mission was important as well.
And relationships.
And relationships is at that core level too. So this has been our podcast for this week. And we want to reiterate that we do have that Leadership to Literacy Audit, and we have a suite of offerings, actually, right? You want to talk about some of the others?
Yeah, so we took that audit and we kind of infused it in all of the offerings. So one thing that we could do is, if you're busy, like most principals are busy people.
Not busy.
Right. Most principals are busy people, and you're getting ready to do your school plan, and you're like, look, I just need a few minutes to have a thought partner, someone to help me look at a couple of maybe deeper strategies, some practical tools that we didn't really talk about today. But so I got 90 minutes. Who doesn't have 90 minutes? I have 90 minutes. I can get on a call with Kim and I, and we can talk about this audit, find your area that you really want to focus on this year, and start talking you through the
planning
steps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What do you need to do once you find that one piece that you want to, or several, that you want to work on? We can get you started in 90 minutes. So 90 minutes is not going to solve everything. It is not. Because that would be really funny if we said that. No one would believe us.
No, 90 minutes.
No.
It's just going to be the first little spark to get you started.
Right. And then there's the other one is called it's a strategy session, leadership to literacy strategy session. And it is a day. And it just goes a little bit deeper. So again, we start with the audit. We go through those tools that we were mentioning that we would share. And then we actually help you with your team to go through and make the full plan. So you can get the whole plan done. And then we offer some support after.
And some resources too. To get some resources.
Yeah.
And then we also have a 90-day coaching for the school leader, and it includes the day workshop, and along with that, monthly calls, and then you also get access to us outside of that time as well. And we also have a 3-day focus. So if you are doing your planning, you need some intense support, we can help you kind of start all the way from the beginning with a comprehensive needs assessment, data analysis, looking at your goals, and really put the plan fully in place. So we have a couple of different ways that we can support you. So check us out. We are on IG. All the information you can find down below. And this has been the Literacy Leadership Coaches Podcast.
And don't forget to subscribe.